Hello. Did you know that your 40s could be some of your most exciting years ever? Stay with me.
Dancing through the night, stronger, bolder, moving with grace, owning her story, she's setting the pace, step by step, she's breaking the chains, living her life, she's changing the game, power and beauty, rhythm and soul, African.
Hi, people. Hello. Welcome back to In Her 40s with me, your girl, TD. I'm so excited about today's show. I know I'm always excited, but yeah, it's part of it. The excitement, it has become a part of me and I'm never getting rid of it. And you know the way they say, be like a child. That means be excited about everything. So yes, I've adopted that personality. So even when things are not going so well, we're excited. So today, I have a special guest of honor. You know when they say you have a special guest of honor? Yes, that's what I have today. My guest is not only my person. You know when they say somebody is your person, your personal person. Yes. He's also someone that I respect very much because he has achieved a lot career-wise and even individually from a growth perspective. And the reason why I say that is because more often than not, when I've gone for programs that have to do with self-development and whatnot, the ratio of women to men is usually like maybe 80-20. So when I see guys in those kind of settings, I genuinely respect them because I know that it takes a lot as a man to actually say, I need help or I don't know this. I need some form of guidance. So that's why I say I really respect him. So don't worry, we'll get into it. But as I always say, I need to introduce my guests so that you understand the timber and caliber of my guests so you can feel it. So it's not as if, oh, somebody is just hyping. No. So please let me read his accolades so you can get it. All right. So my guest today is Fola Alade, Esquire. I would say he's a lawyer, so to speak, but we'll get into it actually. So Fola Alade is a commercial lawyer. He's a notary public and one of Nigeria's most credentialed voices in alternative dispute resolution. Let me break it down. Mediation. For those of you that think that grammar is to be mediation, yes. He's the founder and principal partner of FOTEFA Partnerships LP, a commercial and dispute resolution firm in Lagos, and the visionary behind FOTEFA Mediation Academy, which trains and certifies mediators across Africa. So you can, let me tell you, if I don't have Africa alone, because it's global now, it's global. He currently holds multiple concurrent professional appointments in the Adrial space. If I start reading this, people will just be doing your space, but I'll just pick a few. He's a training facilitator, International Mediation Campus, Germany. To say generally. I told you people, they're sending me go school. Okay. Mediator Global Mediation Panel, Office of Ombudsman, United Nations. Ombudsman, don't hear any words today. Attorney Mediator, AALCO, Hong Kong Regional Arbitration. I told you people that this is a global something, so you can understand. Let me not bore you too much, but you can Google him, Fola Alade, and you will see all his accomplishments. You can understand what I'm talking about. So welcome, Fola. I'm so excited to have you here. I know we're going to dig into it, and I'm so excited for this particular topic. So for those of you that don't know, our topic today is working in a profession Nigerians don't understand. The mediator entrepreneur. And this is the mediator entrepreneur. Like when I think of mediation in Nigeria, I feel like he is one of the foremost people, if not the foremost people, actually championing it and trying to ensure that this becomes even more important than how trouble say going to courts. Because anything can be resolved. It just depends on if you are both able to see from the same perspective. More often than not, that usually is the roadblock. And you know, understand the way Nigerians are. We are the, you know who I am kind of attitude people. So more often than not, I will see you in court. My lawyer will, you know, that kind of vibe. So genuinely for me, for someone who likes less drama, I feel like mediation is something that is very key, not just as a profession, but even in life in general. When you call family meeting to resolve issues, that's mediation. in some way without you realizing. When two friends are fighting and another friend steps in to listen to both sides and try and that's mediation. So not just seeing it from a professional angle, but also seeing how important it is to our everyday lives and keeping the peace. But for today, we're going to talk about it as a business and how he sort of got here in terms of from studying law and now deciding that this was the aspect of law that he wanted to study. So my people, stay with me. Welcome, Fola. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. So I don't want to, we had already said that this conversation is a lot because mediation is not as big in Nigeria as it is in other countries.
Without a doubt.
And that's largely because Nigerians don't really understand it. In fact, a lot of people don't even know that that's an option before you get to things like a court case.
I agree.
Most people just go straight from dispute
Straight to court.
Straight to court because they feel like that's the natural next step. So personally, understanding that this is actually an option, not just an option, but an option that actually resolves much more than a court case was very interesting for me because I'm like, if this thing is so impactful, why do more people not know about it?
That's a very good question. And let me start off on a lighter note. For the longest time, people assumed mediation was meditation.
Oh, wow.
So without the T. And I think the starting point really should be the litigious nature we have in Nigeria, whereby, like you rightly said, whenever issues come up, the first port of call is to go to court. And I always like to start off on this premise of the statement that people will continue to do the best with what they can. If they know better, they will do better.
True.
So the question now is that in the framework of dispute resolution, how many people actually know about mediation? And I think the starting point really should be the tree. That's always how I like to start. Now, we have what is called litigation, which is the conventional way of having disputes resolved. That is the formal way of having to go to court and whatnot. Now, on the flip side, we have what is called ADR, alternative dispute resolution. So it's almost like, so I'm going to try to be as simplistic as possible. What an opposite. Litigation, you go to court. ADR, you don't go to court. Now, litigation, you resolve disputes going to court. ADR, you resolve disputes without going to court. Now, the ADR now is a tree. Now, that tree now has different branches. Now, we have what's called arbitration. Now, that's one a lot of people know because it's very similar to litigation. The only difference between arbitration and litigation is that the technicalities of litigation is not in arbitration. Yes, so I'm going to now. After arbitration, we now have mediation, which essentially is an amicable way of having disputes resolved. Now, the operative word is amicable.
Amicable.
Yes.
Exactly.
Now, we then have negotiation, which is almost communication with the intent of persuasion. Then we have conciliation. We have quite a lot of branches, but the three popular ones really is arbitration, mediation, and negotiation. Yes. So it's actually evolving. And the interesting thing about mediation is that we all practice it one way or the other. You understand? Two people have misunderstandings. You come to resolve their disputes. But what makes mediation different is that you have been trained in the art of resolving disputes. So it is that training that you have to resolve disputes that is what makes you a mediator. So back to your question, the only reason why in their defense is that a lot of people don't know about it. And but interestingly enough, the conversation around mediation is now coming on because people are now asking themselves two important questions. Number one, what is the fastest way of having the issues resolved? That's it. So I tell people that care to listen that the conversation around mediation is about speed.
Yeah.
That is it. That is the biggest selling point. It's about speed. Now, I don't like to put elements of dispute resolution at loggerheads with each other, saying that litigation is better than mediation is better than litigation, arbitration. They are all different modes of resolving disputes. They are all efficient. But it then boils down to you as a person. You have a dispute. The question now is this: what do you want to get out of that dispute? You understand? The question is, do you have the time? You understand? So if
you go to court.
Yes, you won't have to even go to court, but point is that if you look at the time you have to have the dispute resolved, are you looking at having this issue over and done with within the next 1 month? Then you choose mediation. If you feel you have a lot of time, then you have other forms of resolving disputes. Now, the beauty again about mediation is that it puts the coffin, it puts the nail on the coffin of dispute resolution. Now, when I'm talking about putting the nail on the coffin of dispute resolution, now with other forms of dispute resolution, it's either judgment for or against. So if you and I go to court, you sue me to court. If the judgment is in your favor, that means it is against me.
Against me.
And if the judgment is against me, then that means that we have to go to the court of appeal. Yes. Now you now start it all over again. Now, if we get to the court of appeal and the judgment is in my favor, then we'll go upstairs, which is the Supreme Court.
That was 1-1.
1-1. Hey, then we do one. So you need one more to go. But mediation is saying no. We can actually say
with mediation, there's usually a conclusion.
There is a conclusion.
There
is a conclusion. But I must add that the conclusion is also based on compromise. And that is what a lot of people struggle with.
Absolutely.
The compromise, the fact that you are coming in with a figure, you are coming in with
maybe certain expectations.
You have to be able to make certain types of compromise, and that's it. I'm trying not to be too legalistic. I hope I've tried.
Am I trying? Yes, I tried. And I think he sort of summed it up by saying amicable resolution.
That is the word.
Because that's probably what largely differentiates it from like litigation.
Without a doubt.
Because it's now no longer somebody else giving us a final ruling. It's between us
both
agreeing. So it's almost like the mediator is someone that helps to bring balance.
It's not a function of helping, that is his job.
That's the job.
And yes, and to also add to what you said, and I think the framework really has to do with the concept of conflict, dispute, and how it must be put in proper perspective. Conflict is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
We're all born with conflict is in it and is as old as mankind. So there has to be that mental frame. I'm using NLP. So you need to put the issue of conflict in proper perspective. We're human beings. There is bound to be conflict. So when you now then see it as a bad thing, it becomes a problem. So the question now is this has happened. What is the lesson to be learned from this? How do we move from point A to point B? And then there's this Yoruba saying that goes to us that two people who go to court don't come out being friends. Have you heard of that? Yes. But in mediation, two people will come into mediation. And sometimes, most times actually, they come out friends. Yes.
I love it. I think, saying that, it just comes back to that whole, it boils down to you as a person. Because some people, maybe because of ego, maybe because they've been hurt or, certain factors.
Justifiably so too, I must add.
Yes. They might not opt for mediation because they feel like I need to maybe punish this person or this person has to feel the full wrath of my anger or hurt or whatever. So have you experienced this sometimes?
Oh, quite a lot. Quite a lot. And some of the most difficult mediation sessions I've had to handle have been mediation sessions premised on principle.
Oh.
Yes, whereby the people will tell you that, look, it's not about the money, but the principle behind it. We have some people that can use 5 million naira to fight somebody because of 500 naira. It is not the money, it's about the principle. So when you encounter issues like that, you then ask yourself one question, which is this: what do they want? Everybody wants something. I don't mean to get too deep into mediation, but you see, the framework is divided into position and interest. Yes, so most times people come into the session with a position. The position is what I want. Yes, but a smart mediator does not play on the altar of position. He plays on the altar of interest. The interest now means that why do you want what you want? You say you want 500, you say you want 5 million. Yes, it will be all right to say you want 5 million. But why do you think you should get 5 million? Yes, so that's what we do. So we more or less lift the veil to go down into the main construct of what it is. It's a lot like a patient and a doctor. When you have a headache is an indication that something is wrong.
Yeah.
It may be malaria, it may be typhoid, it may be quite a lot of things. Now, if you take Panadol, it cures the headache, but it does not cure the root cause.
Yeah.
But you know what? So that's what mediation does. It goes to the very root to know what the problem is and then tries to solve it.
Awesome. That's very interesting. But the thing is, with looking at the way, so of course I have my list of questions. All these ones I was asking is your bonus.
Just woke me up, Abby. Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah. But I think even in the conversation, we've already addressed what my first question would have been, which is, do Nigerians actually dislike mediation? But I think you've sort of spoken to it. It's not that they dislike it. Some people don't even understand it, or they're not even aware that that's an available option for them to use. However, we also know that for some people, so let me ask another question before I go into my own personal thoughts. What does the court as threat culture actually cost people? And this is speaking to when we say sometimes people's personality. You made a reference to say, some people use 5 million to chase 500 naira. So for them, waiving that threat of courts and lawyers is like a power play. So my question is, how does that actually cost people?
Okay, so I think we need to first of all even look at the framework of how it works when a dispute is about to come up, and what makes the court stand out is the element of compulsion, the element of force. So what this essentially means is that go and I go, we have a dispute between the two of us. You decide to sue me to court. Now with litigation and even arbitration, if I decide not to respond to whatever it is you say, the court can actually compel you to come. That's number one. And if the court is satisfied that they have served you all the necessary processes, they can get a judgment against you. You don't want
without you appearing.
Without even you appearing. You understand? Once you've been able to show the court that they've served you, they've done what they're supposed to do. So you see that they call it default judgment. Now, in that fear that okay, fine, somebody has made a claim of maybe 5 million or 10 million or 20 million or even 1 billion, against you, and you are not there to defend yourself, and they have tried to sell, and they have made every concerted effort to get you to come, and you haven't come, then you got to go ahead. So it's that element of compulsion that brings people there. But the flip side on mediation is this: it's voluntary. That is a flip side. What that means is that
both parties have to agree.
Both parties have to agree, and even if when you decide to institute a case, bring a mediation suit against me, for want of a better way to put it, I can choose not to come. Yes, voluntariness. I can choose not to come.
Then how do you resolve the dispute?
And that's the point. That's so listen now. So those are the things that and that's why I say that the concept of voluntariness is a two-edged sword, in the sense that for some people they like the fact that I'm able to exercise my free will. Yes, for some people they are like, what, if it's not compulsory, I don't have to. And then again, this also ties down to the average mentality of Nigerians.
Yeah.
And just like to be forced to do things. You understand? And people believe that if you don't force people to do things, you cannot bring them to the table to negotiate.
Yeah.
So and the honest truth is that they both have the advantages and they have their disadvantages. Litigation has its advantages, has its disadvantages. Mediation has its advantages, has its disadvantages. Yes.
Okay, so it's interesting because sometimes you look at it. There's some people that go to court and they're in court for 5 years.
Okay.
And they are appearing in court let's say maybe every month or every other month. Sometimes you go there, they say the judge is not sitting, they're on break, they're on this, they're on that. And so that can drag out. When you compare that to maybe another party or another group with a dispute, and through mediation, they're able to resolve their issues, maybe a 4-hour, 5-hour session.
Yeah, 4-5 hours session for cases that have dragged for like 10, 15, 20 years. I've had courts resolve cases that have been, so I mediate across board. I mediate at the High Court, I mediate at the Court of Appeal. So for the Court of Appeal, you have some cases that may have dragged on for 5, 7, 9 years. You're able to resolve those cases in 4 years. But I think it's very, very important that I use your platform to change this erroneous impression about delays in court. Okay. I don't think it has to the courts are tardy in what they do. It's just a function of congestion. That's the problem. You see, I would also like to use the metaphor. So I like to use. They don't get it now, but they will.
Oh, well, you'll get it.
So I'm going to try to use the metaphor of the transportation system. You see, when there's only traffic congestion because there's more emphasis on road transportation. Now, in a system where the road transportation is working, water transportation is working, railway transportation is working, air transportation is working, it reduces the traffic on the road.
Definitely.
And that is essentially how it is like. So now we have so many cases going to courts, but we don't have too many forms of dispute resolution, which is what mediation is trying to change. That look, not all cases have to go to court. You understand? Even if they have to go to court,
At least try this alternative.
try and follow a trajectory. And the trajectory is this: if we try to negotiate, if negotiation does not work, then let's try mediation. If mediation does not work, then you have either arbitration and litigation. And that is why I also try to make people understand that, you see, the avenue of dispute resolution is big enough to take everybody. We don't have to compete. Let us synergize. That is the school of thought I belong to. Clearly, all of us cannot be arbitrators. All of us cannot be litigators. All of us cannot be mediators. And most importantly, let us also understand that we are service providers. And
Absolutely.
because we are service providers, the customers, what the customer wants should always be put into perspective. It should come first. So if somebody comes to me and tells that, look, you know what, all the money I have in this life, I put it into this business. I don't have any other thing, okay? But this business is time bound. What do we do? You understand? Then let the party know that there's mediation. Let the party understand that, look, with mediation, you have to make certain concessions. So
Yeah.
are you willing to make those concessions in the spirit of the bigger picture? You know, yes. Let the party know that, okay, fine, there's mediation. Then if the party says, you know what, I have all the time in the world.
I'll drag
You
this
understand?
out.
I have all the time. So the language, so the conversation, and this is why it is important we hammer on the conversation is not about efficiency. The conversation is about speed. And the conversation about speed is in line with the language of the 21st century. Because I ask you one question: if it was about efficiency, 1,000 years ago, we didn't have a problem with walking. Then you understand, from walking, it evolved to using animals, camels and horses. From there, we started using chariots. From chariots, we started using mechanized cars. You can see the evolution.
Yeah.
So clearly, it was not about efficiency. So it has always been about speed. And that is why we're having a conversation about mediation. You understand? It is not about efficiency, it's about speed. It's not only even about speed, it's about the possibility of the restoration of a relationship. Why? Because dispute is innate in us. You understand? We don't need to go separate ways because of one dispute. And that's why there is a conversation.
I love it. Because for me, from what you said, what came to my head was pretty much like mediation is a way to avoid burning bridges.
Yes.
While resolving disputes, because more often than not, when you go to court, because like you said, the ruling is either in my favor or against me.
Judgment for or against.
More often than not, that relationship is burnt.
Yes.
Because it's like you won, I lost, or
Exactly.
I won, you lost kind of vibe. Whereas mediation, because there's a lot of negotiating and compromising, it feels like a win-win situation for both parties.
Exactly.
Because it's almost saying that I might not have gotten what I started out to get, but I got what I thought was good enough.
Exactly.
So it's like my worst case scenario, I might be asking for 5 million, but I know that, look, my worst case scenario cannot go beyond 3.5.
Exactly.
Kind of stuff.
Yes, and to even add, so what you mentioned is called a BATNA WATNA. So what BATNA means, best alternative towards negotiated agreements. So what that means is that I'm going into this agreement with the hope that I'm going to get 5 million, like you said. That's called BATNA. Now, if I'm not able to get 5 million and I get 4.5, that's still a bit of BATNA. You understand? If I'm able to get 4.5, I get 4.4, that's still a bit of BATNA. But if last, as a bad wage, you understand, my walk away that I'll just whether it's 3.5, that's my WATNA. That's the worst alternative, the worst case towards exactly. So that's it.
I love it.
And it's the beauty about it, you see, when I say these things, people don't understand. You see, people need to take time out to study the 21st century client. They've changed. They're wiser now.
True.
They ask questions. You see, what they don't understand, they don't rely on you anymore. They go on ChatGPT, they go on Manus, they go on Claude, they go on Google AI, they go on Nano. There's so many things that they can do. So they become more enlightened. You know, so you cannot bamboozle them with big words and all of that again. And apart from even that again, to even add to this, you see, it's the mindset now is more result oriented. The effort don't count anymore. Yes, effort was
Show working.
is. You say you're going to court, you're saying, yes, it works. You understand? In your defense, it's not your fault. But the question there is what is the end result of it? You know, and I tell people that care to, you see, this conversation we're talking about, what I like to call the medvolution, is no longer a question of if, but it's a question of when. And why is that? It's a question of when? Because it is in line with the language of the 21st century. What is the language of the 21st century? The language of the 21st century is speed. That's over speed result oriented over efficiency.
Interesting. I love that. So now I want to delve into the, I'd almost say, backstory behind the scene.
Do you want us to go there, Tobre?
We will go there. You will go there a little bit. It's saying that even today in 2026, mediation is still not as widely known as it could be.
Yes, we don't.
But I can't even imagine how it was over a decade ago when you started. So my question is, knowing all the resistance that existed, why did you still choose to build here anyways?
That's a very, very deep question. No? And I say deep because we cannot answer this question without going back to the past, without going way back.
Yeah.
So interesting enough, this year I will mark my 20th year.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and I started off, the first 10 years was in active litigation. Yes, going to court, the whole wig and gown, the whole shebang. But understand one thing, it was not because I wanted to. It was because I didn't know what else to do. And I always like to tell this backstory that, you see, I finished from school with very poor grades. And when I finished, there was really nothing to do. Now, but there was a problem. I knew everything I didn't want to do. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. And that was a problem for me. I knew I didn't want to do it. So when my friends were talking about becoming partners in law firms, becoming senior advocates of Nigeria, it sounded cool. In fact, I remember when a friend of mine became an SAN at just about, I think, the 10th and 11th year, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life. So there was this particular day, 2026, 2016. I went to court that day, and there was a case that I'd been in court for 4 years. And then my case was then adjourned to mediation, just like everyone. I was beginning to wonder what meditation was doing in mediation. Because I'm asking myself, I know what meditation is, but I had never heard of mediation as an adjective. Oh, no, I don't know what is an adjective. I never heard of mediating as an adjective, never heard of mediation as a noun, never heard of the word. I was like, what is this? And I went in there, and it was being handled by, I like to call her one of the living legends of mediation, Miss Osama Ezekiel. And she was able to resolve this case of 4 years in less than 6 hours. No, 5 hours.
Oh, wow.
Okay, it looked like modern day witchcraft to me. I know at that point in time, I fell in love with it. So for me, it was like, this is what I want to do. And the interesting thing is that I now checked online. I didn't know anybody that was doing mediation as a sole practice. Because when I registered my firm, I registered it as a mediation practice. Yes. I didn't know anybody was, no, so you love practice, but specializing in mediation.
Yeah.
You understand? I didn't even know. I didn't know anybody that had that practice. I checked online. I didn't know anybody that was making money from mediation. I went on Instagram. I didn't see any blog. I said, okay, fine. This road that is least taken, this is the road I'm going to take. You understand? And for everybody I spoke to, for every 5 people that were coming into ADL, 4 of them were going to arbitration. Nobody was going to mediation. And I just remembered something that someone said, that sometimes the road to prosperity is the road that is less trust. You see, and I said to myself, that road, and I said something to him. And I remember I had a mentor then, and when I told the mentor I was going to set up a law practice that would focus on me, he said, in his words, I don't know, are we allowed to speak Yoruba?
Of course.
I said, Ibi ma bye.
That means hunger will kill you.
Hunger said, Ibi ma bye. And I said to, and I remember my response. I said, if there's one person that will make money from mediation in this entire world, that one person will be me. And the analogy I had in mind when that happened was that I likened myself to being on a boat to an island, and then I broke the boat. So it was a case of no retreat, no surrender. So that was the analogy I had in mind. So it didn't matter that there was nobody that was making money from mediation. It didn't matter that there was nobody that had a career in mediation. It didn't matter that I had no mentors to look up to. I just said to myself that I've already broken this boat. That's why I like this song, No Turning Back. If you know how that song ministers to me.
No, I can never turn back.
I can never turn back. It is too late. It doesn't even make sense. So it's forward ever, backward never.
Backward ever.
So you cannot compare the mentality of that type of person to someone that had a plan B. There was no plan B for me. It was only a plan A, and I went forward with it. And did I suffer? Yes, I suffered.
In fact, that's leading to my next question. Please tell us about the glamorous parts, because I know that it must have been a tough journey, especially in an environment like this. and like you said, charting a new course. So that least traveled road means that you are the one that is clearing the path and sort of creating a path for other people to follow.
Apart from even creating a path for other people, so I came into mediation with I noticed one thing that it happened in mediation then belonged to a particular set of people, older folks than myself. So I didn't even have young people like myself then that was
That were
practicing it. You
interested.
understand? And the people I saw in mediation only came into mediation because they saw it as a hobby, vocation. You understand? They didn't see it as a business. So the mindset for me was that, look, if it's not making money, it's not making sense.
Yeah.
You know, I am going to charge what other people are charging in that for mediation. I'm going to charge premium. So first of all, when I started, there was a lot of resistance from a lot of people because they felt I was too arrogant. They felt I was too audacious. They felt I was too bold.
Even within the
Yes,
industry.
even within the industry, because they couldn't reconcile the fact that I became a mediator in 2015, and by 2016 I had my first mediation conference. Yes, I had a mediation conference. I remember what some people were saying. Why did they call this boy to? What does he know? Why is he throwing a mediation conference? You know, what does he think he knows? And I went, and for me, it's always been that, look, anyhow as it take be, you go on and go. You understand? So for me, it was the audacity. And I'll tell you one thing for free. From 2015 to 2022, I didn't make 1 naira for mediation. 7 years.
What?
Yes. I didn't make 1 naira for mediation. Okay, of course. And now, thankfully, because as a lawyer, you know, I had all that.
Yes,
Yeah, but you know, every morning I was coming in from every other time. I was pumping it into my mediation practice. You understand? Going for trainings, trying to empower myself. Every 7 years, I didn't make 1 naira. In between this mediation hustle, I fell into depression twice because it was a case of, Fola, what are you doing?
But you were so convinced about it.
Convinced, and now my conviction had no empirical belief.
Yeah, there was no data.
There was no data to back it up. It wasn't like I had seen, you know, it was just I believe that, look, fella, this thing is going to work out right. Just keep on pushing. So 7 years I didn't make anything. Now, in between 7 years, again, even I remember I spoke to a mentor who was like, you know what, why don't you pack this business up? You know, thankfully you already started a lot of practice. Rather than focusing on mediation, focus on other things. I tried. It did not work. I came back again to this mediation. I said to myself, you know what, but one thing I think in retrospect that I learned is that I experimented, you know. I'll try this one will not work, I will drop. I'll try this one will not work, I will drop. Try this. So for me, for every failure I had, I learned one less way of not doing it like this. For every setback I had, so for me, it wasn't long about failure, it was about data. Yeah. So and from 2022, you know, that team stubborn. That
From here, absolutely.
I don't let that hear word. You understand?
I found out about mediation
on my status, on my WhatsApp, you know, and because I was also able to leverage extensively on social media. I understood that attention is the best currency. So basically, go on Facebook, you find me there. Go on Instagram, you find me there. Go on LinkedIn, you find me. And guess what? I was also consistent. And I think that is one language that a lot of people don't understand, the power of consistency. I started posting on the dissemination of the business and practice of mediation. It sounds like a mouthful, right? Basically, I started talking about mediation August 15, 2015. And I can tell you that from August 15, 2015 to today's date, no single day has passed by without us posting. No single day. We post Monday to Friday. We have not missed a single day. My team will tell
all the downtime,
all the
pressure,
downtime.
everything.
Exactly. Not one day
wow.
has gone by. Initially, I started doing it, and this also talks about diversification. You understand? Having some type of structure. So I've been able to build a team. Now, this team, they work on what I call visibility. You know, because at the end of the day, when you tell people you're all this, the first thing they do is to go and check, you know, just go online. Who is this guy that is calling himself a global mediator? You understand? And you see, one thing people don't understand about this world that we live in is that anything you do, you leave what is called digital footprint. You know, that digital footprint is very important, you know. So when you tell someone you're a global mediator, they feel, okay, fine. If you go and type, who is Fola the global mediator, it will bring it out. Why? Because of consistent posting over a while. So I knew I couldn't do all of this together. So I set up a team.
Their focus was
Just visibility, you understand? Not, and guess what? The team I focused to were younger folks. You see these younger people, they have microchips inside of them.
yeah.
Yes, not really see.
They understand
That's
so
fans,
digital space
digital
a lot more
and
than they do.
exactly, and the willingness to learn from them.
Yeah, true.
You know, so we have basically handling while they were working on on the visibility / credibility. I was working on conversion. So I must say this, that if you send in a message, and they've also been able to master how I talk. So when you send a message, they are responding like me. You think it's me.
At least the initial
The initial conversation, they're responding. Then if they tell me, and so I think you need to take this conversation from here. So so we've been able to maintain consistency for 11 years of posting. So consistency beats intensity. Yeah.
Very interesting. And I think that brings me to is one of the questions, and that's why for me, the focus, while of course we want to shed a lot of light on mediation, but it's also now looking at it from the entrepreneurial part.
Okay.
Because like you said, yeah, back in the days, the lawyers that practice mediation saw it as a hobby, not necessarily as a business, not just as a business, but as a lucrative business. So in listening to your story now, the question is, and this is for everybody to learn. Me, I always say I'm a baby entrepreneur. So I'm willing and open to learn where and when. And as much as certain things might sound nice to say, and I'll say sound nice to say in terms of for somebody like me who's still coming up the ranks in this entrepreneur world, we will say things like, oh, discipline, consistency, hard work. But now listening and hearing your story, my question is, how were you able to still stay consistent, disciplined, and show up every day, regardless of how you were feeling and maybe some of the doubts that might have been playing in your head?
I had a plan. That's simple. You see, people just start things without the end in mind. You know, so for me, there was a destination with various bus stops. And I tell people one thing, see, your ideas are worthless without implementation.
Yeah.
You know, you understand? So when I mean milestone in a sense, I said to myself that, look, for that, how do you see yourself in 10, 15 years? That was the first question I asked myself, even before I started. And the question was, I wanted to be a global mediator.
Yeah.
So I started using that word global before I even knew what it meant. Now, there's a neuroscience attached to all of this.
Yes.
And you know, the word is, as a man thinketh in his heart. So
easy. Yeah.
you know, whatever it is you think of, you know, so whatever it is that comes up, the question comes up twice. First in the mind before it comes out. So for me, I was able to identify that this tool of mediation passed the test of universality. Oh, I must also use this point to also tell you that ADL can be done by anybody. So you don't even have to be a lawyer to come in.
I was going to ask.
You understand?
Yeah.
So immediately I said to myself that if non-lawyers are coming into the arena of dispute resolution, that means the lawyers that are the owners, quote and unquote, of dispute resolution, they need to buck up.
Yeah.
You know, so because and they're also coming with a plan. And you know the plan, they're coming with the mindset of specialization. If you're going to come into the ADR space, you're not coming to do everything like what with Melody do. You are coming in from your own niche. You've been able to identify the problems in your own niche, and you're coming to resolve those disputes. So first I had a plan. The plan was divided into two parts. First was to be a global mediator. Global in the sense that that I can practice what I have anywhere around the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first, so as a global mediator, meaning that okay, fine, I should be able to practice and I practice in over 10 countries around the world. You know, so that was the first part. The second part again was to also be a trainer, a global trainer in as many countries and as many institutions around the world. So that was level 10. Now, and I said to myself, so that is, I'm getting to level 10. What is between level 10 and level 1? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, every milestone, every new level had its own devil, was a bust off. So I said to myself, the first thing I needed to do in level 1 was to first of all not even think about the money, was to get the knowledge, invest in myself. And that's the problem the average Nigerian has. Yeah. You see, we have this free mentality. You see, I don't know where we got it from. You want to make money from something, but you don't want to spend money to make money.
Want to invest in yourself.
And I ask people one thing, make it make sense.
Yeah.
You see, you to make money, you must spend the money. So while my mates were buying cars, buying houses, buying all of that, I was investing in myself. I was heavily investing in myself. Would go for courses on emotional intelligence, NLP, negotiation. Now, even though there was nobody teaching on the business of mediation, but there were so many business of everything, business of a product. And I understood that mediation is a product.
Definitely.
What is the product? The product is that you are basically rendering a service to resolve disputes. And they all have the same rules.
Yeah.
So I just basically reversed engineered all the rules of business. I started applying into it. And so I just said to myself, the first level, 1, level 2, understand. So once I felt I had understood, the next one was now to start practicing what had been taught. And I said to myself again that why will I be teaching people how to make money from mediation when I'm not even making money? I'm in the words of Olakumi Shoyo, you understand? I don't talk about a lot of mentors I have, but let me just, he's a mentor that does not know that he has me as a mentee. And that's a problem I have with people that think that mentorship has to do with
one-on-one interaction.
look, Olakumi Shoyo is my mentor. I think I met him only once, but I can tell you that I've watched over 300 hours of his videos on YouTube. He has a dedicated platform that I signed up to. I'm always listening to him. So a lot of my outlook to life, the way and manner I speak, even some of the lingos I use, I got it from him. So first things first, I had a mentor that that was a futurist, someone who saw the future from today and knew that things needed to change in the way and manner you do things. So I was following him closely. Whenever he has his endeavor, I'll go just sit and just be listening to him. I don't think he ever I don't think there's anything about Olakune Shoria that I've not heard of. So I was basically, as I had mentorship through him. And from there, I was basically taking it level 2. So I also have a journal. And one of the reasons why I always advise people, you see, when you have ideas, don't let those ideas sit in your head. You need to have it, put it down in black and white, not type it. You see, there's a connection that writing has with, you understand, on a white piece of paper. You understand? I write down my thoughts and I measure growth. So I say to myself, okay, fine, I've done this level 1 now. What have I gotten from level 1? I'm going to level 2, level 3, And so even when I had challenges, and I had lots of challenges, there was a destination.
So that's kept
me going.
focused.
So you just like imagine a scenario whereby you haven't eaten for a while, and then 2-3 days, and there's a shining light somewhere. That's the only thing you're looking at.
The absolute.
That's the only thing. I need to get you that shining
By
light.
fire, by
So
force.
the question I always ask people is, what is your shining light? What do you see?
Yeah.
You understand? Because if you cannot, you see, if you keep on walking blindly in the dark, you have no destination. No?
And you get distracted.
And there's this word like connection, we call it PK, that uses, look, there's this level of lunacy that people have in the sense that you cannot wake up in the morning. If you wake up in the morning, you always have a destination. You have
To have a plan
to
for
have
the
a
day.
plan. So if you have a plan for the day, in terms of the fact that for me to get here at this time, I left an hour before. Why did I leave an hour before? I factored traffic among so many other things. So when you can plan your day, why can't you plan your life? That's the point. And when in planning your life, why can't you have milestones, bus stops until you get to final destination? So for the 7 years that I wasn't making money, I asked myself why I wasn't making money. I wasn't making money because I was not projecting value.
In as much as you were creating visibility
I
for
wasn't projecting value. Value in the sense that the marketplace has a language.
Yeah.
And the language is, what are you selling? So I needed to Alvin Toffler, if I remember that's his name, is a futurist. He redefined illiteracy in 21st century, not to mean the inability of yourself not to be able to read, right? But the new definition of illiteracy is your inability to learn
and unlearn.
Unlearn and learn.
Yeah.
So I needed to unlearn and relearn. I needed to start speaking the language of the populace. So when I say myself, I don't tell people I'm a mediator. I say I'm a dispute resolution specialist.
Absolutely.
I tell people that, okay, fine, what do I do? I help people resolve disputes. I don't even say I'm a lawyer. Because you see, when the word lawyer is now,
they just put you in a box.
They put you in a box.
Yeah.
You understand? I know, and they say, I have a go lawyer.
Exactly.
You understand? So I don't know what I've been able to answer your questions. So yeah. So I had a plan, I also had a yardstick for measuring
For
growth.
measuring it.
And so I was taking baby steps, and taking baby steps. And like I said, the goal is to be global, and to ensure that the tool I have takes me outside Nigeria. So while everyone here is thinking about, a service for 200 million, 230, 40 million Nigerians, I'm asking myself, no, I'm not going to have a service. 8 billion people. We're talking about the population. I'm not even looking at a population of 1.5, 1.8 or 1.9 billion, which is Africa. I'm talking about 8 billion people. Even the 8 billion people serve, I'm talking about the square root of the 1%. Because really, the truth of the matter there is this: the simple way to make money is very easy. Have value.
Yeah.
Have a solution to the problem that somebody
that already exists.
Multiply that solution by, you understand, and that is it. And also another thing I also forgot to add there is that I also asked myself one question, that if I'm going to make 1 million naira, there are 1,000,000 ways to make 1 million naira.
Yeah.
Make 1 naira in 1 million ways, 100,000 in 10 ways,
Yeah.
250 in 4 ways, 500 in 2 ways. I said to myself, no, I want to make 1 million naira in one way.
Come on.
And I said, if I'm going to make 1 million naira in one way, the knowledge that took me from point A to point B will not take me from point B to point C. So that's the target audience. Find the people that need the service, that can afford to pay. And there's something this guy said. So because I'm widely read, I read, I listen to a lot of things. You see, this South African, he said, where value is concerned, negotiation and price is not the conversation people have.
Absolutely. I
agree. You don't go into you don't go into a Ferrari shop to go and price a Ferrari.
No.
Don't go to.
They expect that you walking in there,
exactly.
You know the value of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't go and price a Bugatti.
Yeah.
You don't, because there's a presumption that you can afford that. And you see, when you now get to that level whereby you no longer
Price is not an option.
It's not an option. Apart from your price is no longer an option, you didn't have to tell people how good you. Somebody asked me, Fola, how will people know when you have money? I said, it'll be signs. You won't say about me anymore. You won't even say. You see, you just know that there's just somebody somewhere that. So you see, that's the plan. So the question now is this: people, what is the plan? And there's also something PK always talks about again. He uses the word distraction management. I heard that word from him the first time. What does distraction management mean? We're doing too many things at the same time. Okay, I'm a lawyer. You're a lawyer. You're an arbitrator. You're a negotiator. You are this. Look, I have my blinders on. The only thing I see is mediation. And I tell people one thing: that if you hold a railing like this, the chances of holding it longer with 2 hands is higher than when you hold it with 1 hand. So I've been able to not box myself into a corner, to say that this one thing that I know so well.
I'm the foremost.
The conversation is about global domination.
Yeah.
So the conversation is different. So that's basically.
And I think, it just speaks to, and this is where for me, especially, let me not, because it's easy for me to assume. I would say I know Nigeria. I don't know other parts of the world. In a country like Nigeria, people throw the word entrepreneurship loosely. So you see maybe a 9-to-5 worker that is complaining, say, God, please let me just have my own business. Because in their mind, they feel like it's an easier option without realizing the amount of resilience, discipline, and sometimes blind faith that you'd have to have in order to keep a business going until it starts to turn over a profit. So this is you saying it took you 7 years of not making 1 kobo from mediation. So of course, you have to be making money to be able to sustain yourself in those 7 years.
Is there anything lower than 1 kobo? I won't look at 1 stream. You see, but if I can quickly speak to this, you see, perspective is reality, or perception is reality. See, doing business in Nigeria is like walking with stones on your legs. I keep why I tell people that Nigeria is training you for the global world. There's such a word like that. You see, you are doing business in Nigeria as an entrepreneur. You don't only have stones on your leg, you have stones all over your body. You understand? You are learning hard. You are learning them. Nigerians are difficult. Yeah, so I can't think of. You see, and if you see Nigerians are difficult, they won't not talk about lawyers.
Yeah.
We are not, myself inclusive, we're a special breed. So when you do business in Nigeria, and when you have a tool that passes the test of universality, Nigeria will train you for the world. You know, somebody said something that if you can drive in Nigeria, you can drive anywhere.
Drive anyway.
If you can practice business in Nigeria, I can practice business anywhere. Because when I look at my practice outside of Nigeria and how I'm able to move fast, people wonder, how are you able to do this? I just laugh. I just tell them, what is this you're talking? If you know my people back, do you know what it is?
One guy will tell you that because I'm a Mazi, I cannot sit down here. I'm arguing with.
The conversation now really is not even only, it's about what I like to call cultural intelligence. So about that, when I mediate, I don't have a problem being on first name basis with them. You understand? You call Jack, you call John, you don't even need to use the word Mr.
Yeah.
You dare not call
Hey, Nigeria, are you joking?
Okay, look at this.
But some people will tell you.
Do you know who I am? Why are you calling me on first? The way he's even introducing himself, Dr. Chief.
There was one post that went viral. A curious post on Honest Boss. Call me by my name. She had to read out her whole actually like, no, please. I'm doctor, I'm ordained, I have PhD, I have this, I have this.
Only happens in Nigeria.
In Nigeria, absolutely.
But then again, so the cap I wear when I meditate here is different from the cap I wear outside. So I see it as learnings, you know, and I'm grateful for the learnings because you are able to see how you are able to navigate through different spheres, have an understanding of, like I said, cultural intelligence, have an understanding of emotional intelligence, amongst so many other things. And
it's so interesting because, you know, before we started shooting, I was referencing the fact that you having a background in emotional intelligence and also NLP must be a strong advantage in this field or in this space particularly, because for me, I always say I'm an observer of people because I just generally like to understand why people do what they do. So I'm trying to now see it from the perspective of you as a mediator. That will definitely give you that edge because you're able to pick up on vibes and those kind of stuff quicker than maybe the average person would.
So I was having a conversation with my wife. Was it just 2-3 days ago? I said, if I look at the qualities of the average mediator, when I see them, you know, my patience has a limit. I'm going to be very honest with you, but patience is an essential tool for mediation. So I know that if I'm going to have to get parties to shoot position, I need patience. But am I a very patient person? Neither here nor there. But why am I very good at what I do? Because my practice is powered by behavioral sciences. And when I talk about behavioral science, we have emotional intelligence. You understand, to understand the study of...
To regulate your emotions.
To regulate your emotions. Then also have NLP, our NLP, which has also helped greatly.
Yeah.
But you see, the truth of the matter, there's this thing I also heard that human beings are more emotional than logical. 95% emotional, 5% logical. But you know what they do? They take emotional decisions and justify logic.
Yes.
Now, there's also what's it called? One of our presuppositions. I don't know what I know what presupposition means, but if not them to explain this. But the truth of the matter is here, you cannot not communicate. Everybody's communicating at every point in time. So, and from our training, people have different tells.
Yes.
When you are lying, there's a tone you use. There's a way your voice comes down.
Sometimes it's even your breathing that changes.
You understand? Yeah. So by training, I'm looking at
to pick up on
those things. There's a way your eye you blink.
Where your eyes will
go through. So if you have a ready-made answer to a question, like if I ask you 1 + 1, 1 + 1 is 2. You don't have to manufacture it.
Yeah.
You know, but if you then have to think of you understand, it's the indication that something. So that's why those are the things I'm always on the lookout for. You know, I'm looking at the communication, looking at the voice, I'm looking at the body, even the way and manner seated, you know, your hands are like this is an indication of something, you know, you're fidgety. So those are the two. That is why I'm very, very good at what I do.
Absolutely.
Because of, you know,
Absolutely.
but when that comes to those, because those other ones, I ask myself, I'm patient, but it's to a level. And guess what? I've also been able to understand myself. Self-awareness.
Absolutely.
I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. As good as I may be in mediation, I focus mostly on commercial mediation because there's a level of detachment involved.
Absolutely. I get you.
I don't know whether
It's tougher when it's an emotional
so I run away from emotion,
Mm,
from family disputes,
Yeah.
because I'm an empath. It involves a high level of emotion, so I'm able to know the areas that I may do very well in, areas that I may struggle with. So that's why it's the way it is.
Absolutely. I love it. And just to buttress, so for me, and I know in previous episodes I've spoken about NLP, EQ, and co. But just buttressing is more the fact that self-awareness is giving you an edge because that made you sort of identify your own strengths vis-a-vis your weaknesses. And that's a lot of the premise of why this podcast started, is saying that, look, find what works for you. Principles of life might not necessarily change, but you have to find how it applies to you. So as an entrepreneur, regardless of what field, what area, what industry you are practicing in, understanding people is very key. Understanding yourself is even more key. Because before you can start to understand people, you have to understand yourself. And from that, you are now able to see how other people operate. And being a mediator, you get that advantage because you have now not just, you don't just have the certification, let me put it that way. You actually did the work, which is you used yourself as I would almost say guinea pig, and dissected yourself in this mediation that I want to do. What part of it? So as much as mediation is already a niche within the legal system, you still now carved another niche within that space to say, look, I can mediate in all scenarios. Knowing the kind of maybe personality traits I have, the kind of person that I am, let me lean more to this so that I'm able to be more, would I say, efficient at it, as against where you do maybe family disputes, and because of your empathetic nature, you might get sucked in. And that can now be even more draining than it normally would be from an emotional or psychological point of view. So being able to identify that, that's what I wanted to point out in case it seemed like I was rough.
And to also even add to what you said, see, I tell people one thing: making money is easy if you know what it is to do. And I'll just talk about some generic rules. Number one, don't do what everybody is doing.
Mm.
That's the thing. And in anything I do, I always look out for what everybody is doing, and I do the opposite. Yes. Now I have a training like that. Now I have okay, in the dispute resolution space, a lot of people when they come in, they will do arbitration. I said no, I'm not going to do arbitration. I'll focus on mediation. Now, when I set up my own training academy, a lot of people will train people to become mediators. I said, why don't I train people to become mediators? That's the easy part. Why don't I train people how to make money from mediation? You understand?
Yeah.
So what I do is that I look at anything people are doing and then try to do something that is slightly different. And you see, and all of this is in tune with still with the language of the 21st century. And what is language of the 21st century? Language of the 21st century, apart from speed, is specialization.
Yeah.
You see, the era of jack of all trades, master of all is given.
What made you
Yeah.
What's your
Right.
USP?
What is your USP? What can you be known for? And I get it. I get the need for you to strategically position yourself on the windfall. That if it's coming from this, coming from that, coming from this, but what will happen if you then decide to give everything, your all in all? And I'll tell you one thing for free: there's money in everything. You just need to be consistent at it. And there's something somebody said that to become an industry leader in anything at all, you should be able to spend 10 years doing it. Yes, you spend 10 years doing it.
So if
You know, that way you're going to call yourself a
leader, an expert in that field.
whichever way and manner, you spend 10 years honing your skills. So what is it? But the question now is that, do they have that patience? That patience is the problem. You see, and that patience is subsumed in that word consistency. See, consistency will build intensity at every. And you know, the funny thing about some of these things is that the conversation I'm having with you regarding mediation can be used for anything at all.
Absolutely.
So you just need to can be used for anything at all. You just need to just have an understanding that the rules are the same. Find something you understand, something you love, something you're passionate about. Find it, then see how you can convert it, and that's it.
And that's
There are better ways to put it.
I love it.
Yes.
So I'd ask a question. When you said you were investing in yourself, of course, I know that at the time you were pursuing international panel appointments at the same time where you were trying to build local credibility.
Okay.
Was that calculated?
Oh yes, it was calculated. It still goes back to PK. I heard one word called glocal.
Glocal.
Yeah. Yeah, he owns that word. Glocal. What does glocal mean? Glocal means having the global outlook to life. So first of all, I was able to identify that the tool I had could be used outside of Nigeria. You understand? Meaning that if I'm trying to be a mediator in Nigeria and I go to Germany, go to this, I don't need to. I don't need to go there to go and certify. So what did I do? I went.
Or like as a lawyer.
Exactly where you have to go to. Like, just said to myself, okay, fine. So if I've been empowered with a tool that passes the test of universality, let me start reaching out to other countries. So the first point of call was my LinkedIn. I'll go on LinkedIn, join as many communities as possible. You understand? To find out the conversations surrounding mediation and all of that. And when I started seeing that some of these countries still had their own ADR organizations. And I started reaching out to all of them. Send them, I'll tell them I'm a mediator. I would send my profile to them. They will have a look at it. Some will have interviews with me. And then it's okay, fine. We can make it. That was how I got myself in United Nations,
Oh, what?
In fact, someone saw my post and said, Mr. Alade, would you be interested in working with the United Nations?
United Nations.
Are you joking?
So serious. You know what I would do for my credibility?
My credibility is
locally, even globally.
Exactly. And that's it. But like you said, the question was that there was an intention, and I had that at the back of my mind. And I started, and it's interesting. You see, for every acceptance I had over 50 rejections. For every one, so we use the word empanelment. For every one empanelment that I had in one area organization, I had not less than 40 other area organizations rejecting me. So, and I didn't stop. Same stubborn. I still kept looking at it. That okay, fine.
That's the resilience.
That's the resilience. You have to be.
That's why they say entrepreneurship will test you.
It will test you,
and it will show you things about yourself that you probably didn't even know.
Exactly.
Because that's when you realize if you are committed or not to that quote unquote idea or dream that it is that you're chasing.
And the thing about tell people one thing. You see, people can build castles in the air.
Yeah.
When I started doing mediation 10 years ago, as an active RAM, I thought I would be the next best thing since bread and butter. Thinking that 6 months for me.
Because you didn't know it would take 7 years.
So, the truth of the matter there is this here. It's clear that people don't want to spend so much time.
Yeah.
Now, we're not talking about a mode of resolving dispute that involves some level of compromise, and you're able to still, and that puts the nail on the coffin of dispute resolution. You would naturally assume that's the
people will jump on it.
Yeah, that people are like, you know what? No. And in the defense of people, and I think I've come to that realization now that I'm very active in private mediation, that the antagonism towards mediation is not because they are stubborn. They just don't understand it.
Yeah. They don't understand it.
And this has changed the way I'm at it, made me more patient when I'm, then I would ask myself, you don't understand how it works. So when people don't understand how something works, they antagonize it.
Yeah.
So it is the lack of understanding of the engineered manner it works. So that makes them not appreciate that. That's why once they just taste it and they see this NLP, a lot of
they become your ambassadors. So I was going to ask, because you spoke about not just setting up the firm, but also now starting the academy.
Yes.
Most people would have just focused on the firm, especially because you were not making money from the firm in itself. And then you now decided to add the academy to it. Why did you decide to do that?
So it still boils down to niche and diversifying within the niche. So for me, and so everything I do quite a lot of things under mediation, but it's just like a stream having different channels.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a case of the fact that I didn't want to put all my eggs in one
basket.
No, I wanted to put all my eggs in one basket of mediation, but I also wanted other baskets within that mediation space. So I said to myself, you have the practice, which is the FOTEFA Partners. Then you also have the training, because really as a mediator, you are basically teaching people, enlightening them. So you might as well just have that as a revenue stream. So that was why I had the practice of it, and I also had the training of it. So that way I'm comfortably balanced in both areas. That was
Were you making money from the training?
If the training itself, people will come and say they want to train for free and all of that. So and that's why everything in terms of the train just changed in 2022. Yeah, everything changed. And in the defense, and not to my why I use the word in the defense was that I remember when I was having a conversation with someone said, "Fola, I hear you. You speak so well, but I can't relate." So what are you saying? Are you telling him not to go to court? No, I'm not saying you should not go to court. I'm saying there are other ways of having disputes resolved. So how how then can I embrace this? So what I needed to do was to be able to simplify what I do in such a way and manner that I can explain it to a 5-year-old, And you see, the training we lawyers have is that we're trained to be lawyers, and so I needed to understand that the lawyers were not my target audience. So I needed to be able to speak a language that they understood.
They're not your learned calling.
Exactly. So maybe when I ask you, so what do you do? Oh, I resolve disputes for a living. Are you a lawyer? No, not exactly. I'm a lawyer by training, but basically I help parties save money through an amicable way of resolving disputes. And then I throw the question. So what do? You tell me what you do. And I tell you, fine, what are the issues you have in your business? You tell me the issues you have in your business. And I ask, okay, fine, how much do you spend? And I ask, do you know that there are more amenable ways of having those issues resolved? And that's it. Everybody wants something. Absolutely. Nobody. So the thing there is, how are you able to contextualize value? Because that is life is about value exchange.
Absolutely.
You understand? How are you able to communicate value? And that's really is the work, is the conversation. Your ability to communicate value. Because the truth of the matter there is this here, money is a byproduct of value.
For value, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I also said to myself that, look, it's easier to attract wealth. You see, I don't want to chase money. I want to be a man of value and then attract wealth. And
You see, people can think about the things I say.
and in being able to attract it, I always use this metaphor of wanting to catch a rat. It's easier to set a mouse trap than to start running around. So
That is in the rat.
so what is the mouse trap I'm setting? I'm setting the trap of value.
Value.
I'm setting the trap of competency. I'm setting the trap of being able to being very good at what it is that I do. Then once I'm there in that way and manner, then people come. And you see one thing about when you know what you know. Let's talk about our class. We have different levels of competence.
Yeah.
You have conscious
Conscious competence.
or
Conscious
yes, exactly.
competence.
So unconscious incompetence is when you don't even know that you know. You understand? Conscious incompetence is when you know that you don't know.
You don't know.
You understand? So then we also have conscious competence is when you know
that you know.
But you see, do you know the one I'm aiming for is unconscious competence? When you no longer even know that you know. That point
is a part of it.
Yeah, whereby when you just say something like wow, and you're like, oh really? You understand? So that is the goal. So this also boils down to the part I was talking about having a plan. There has got to be a plan. You understand? There has to be a plan, because if you don't have a plan, how do you want to measure growth?
Absolutely.
If you don't have a plan, how are you able to know that you're actually making progress? But people don't have a plan. And most importantly,
or they forget their plan when things get difficult. So you might set out with a plan, and this is from a stopper and starter person. You set out with a plan, but because you're not constantly focused on that end goal, or you're not constantly reminding yourself of why you are doing what you're doing, when things get turbulent or things don't go according to your plan, you get frazzled.
That's why you need a journal. That's the point. That's why you need a journal. Because when you have a journal and you're able to say to yourself that, okay, fine, I'm getting confused. Okay, fine. What did I start for? Where did I go to? When you pick up your journal guides you to tell
you're able to see where deep started to.
Exactly. And for me, I also use this metaphor of a lighthouse. You know that that there's this lighthouse in water that has this light and all of that. It's so high up that I can see from anywhere.
Anywhere.
You understand? So for me, I'm always asking myself, okay, fine, I can still see the lighthouse, but there's still an ocean between myself and the lighthouse. So that means that I'm still on track. It may still look very, 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 very far. You're still on track.
But as long as you can see,
so like as I can see. But when that light goes off, and the point is that I'm lost.
There's no beacon.
There's no beacon to look at. So the question now is I ask people, what is your beacon? What do you see? And these are the only, the funny thing about things like this is that these are the only questions you can ask yourself. You understand? Because so that way you are going, you fall, you stand, you crawl, you stand, and that's it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Of course. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I promise you it's going to be worth it. Because when you hear about people who probably on their deathbed, when you ask them what they regret, they tell you that they regret the fact that they were not able to do.
They didn't try.
They didn't follow I tell people one thing: when the time comes, I will die with zero regrets, because everything I've always wanted to do. My greatest fear, I've done it. You understand? And that's why there's this saying I stumbled upon. Was it just last week? Memento mori and memento vivere. I don't know what I pronounced. One says, remember that. So when you remember that, it puts things in outlook. Yes, perspective. Then the memento vivere, remember life.
Yeah.
Remember to live. You see, this money will come. The truth of the matter, it will come.
As long as you are consistent and you are working towards it,
It will come.
Yeah.
That's the most, and even after all that, apart from even having a plan, you should also ask yourself one question: what is the aim of all of this? You want to be rich. Why do you want to be rich? For me, it's freedom. That's the end goal. Freedom and options.
Having options, as you see.
In freedom and options. See, when you have freedom, do you know what it means? And the word freedom, mental freedom.
Yeah.
You understand? Emotional freedom, spiritual freedom, having options. You know, I don't want to be true.
Sorry to cut you short. When you just said that, it reminded me of one saying that they say, money allows you to be who you truly are.
It's an amplifier.
Yeah. When you don't have money, you can be that humble person. You're the one doing everybody. My chairman, my
There's
staff.
no ability in poverty.
At all.
There is no.
But once you have money, your real self comes.
Out.
It comes out.
It comes out. You don't. There's a limit to the BS you can take. I know. Some people. You know, and the thing about it is that it takes you out of survival mode
fully.
You cannot tell a man who is thinking of what to big fight that he should go and to do all of these things.
They say you should go and pay for course. And the guy looking at you as if I have not paid school fees, I've not paid the house rent, I've not.
Exactly. And the truth of the matter is, I tell people one thing: when you are playing in the service business, there's a level of abstraction ascribed to what it is that you do. Now, when you're playing in the product business, that means that if you want to develop a product, like the phone now, you have the Samsung. If you have, I understand we have Fold 7 and Fold 8 is coming out. So that means that Fold 8 would have more features than Fold 7.
It's an upgrade.
Than upgrade. So as a person, how do you upgrade? Well, the only way you upgrade is through knowledge.
Yeah.
So how do you get
investing in yourself?
You understand? Spend on yourself. Warren Buffett said that the greatest return on investment you have is what is spent on yourself. So that's it.
Just take a bet on yourself. Because, you know, we keep forgetting that we are the resource.
Yeah.
So as much as, yes, you would have support resources and whatnot, but you are the resource. So as an entrepreneur, you are the driver of whatever that's your dream, idea, business, whatever it is. It can be from selling akara at the bus stop to building a global business. You have to create what you want that to look like. This is the blueprint of how I want my business to run. And this is how. So those things out of your control would always come up. But as long as you have some form of a guideline or a roadmap, it keeps you in the, I'd almost say, in the present. It's no longer a fantasy or something that you have built your castle in.
And all this stuff. You see, the problem I have with a lot of entrepreneurs, I just look at them and I smile. You start a business, if it's not coming after 6 months, you abandon. You pick up another business, you understand if it's not coming, you stop. You know, they don't have that staying power. And if you know what HM always says, that how you do one thing is how you do it. It's how you do everything. You understand? So when you don't even have that staying business, and I don't know whether you've ever actually seen this post, a picture of some guy that was digging.
There, and it almost got into it, and it turned about it.
So those are the kind of total conversations people need to have with themselves. They can't understand, do I have this staying power? If I'm not making money, so for me, even the biggest was that not making money 7 years. So if I've not made money from something in 7 years, how bad can it be? You understand? Now that I'm moving forward. So when I have my low days of 1, 2, 3 months, I ask myself, but there was a time when you didn't make.
Yeah.
Papa, I did not make 1 shilling. Papa is something.
But you know, some people might say you were able to stay consistent because you had the, I would use the word quote unquote, luxury of making money from somewhere else.
Without a doubt. But don't forget that, but the plan was still mediation. So the money I was making from other places was not used to develop other places. Was used to develop myself in mediation.
Means to an end.
Yes. So when the money was coming in, I could have said, oh, this money is coming in from this place now. Let me invest in that place. But I said, this mediation, this is my retirement plan. This is my baby. You know, I said to go into emotional intelligence. I said to myself, emotional intelligence, I see people who have, let me invest in it. Let me study the business of this. So I try to craft my skill to a level of perfection. Even the training, I literally went to learn how to train. I learned how to prepare PowerPoint presentation. So the money was coming in, yes, but it was coming in to invest in other areas. So the point is this: you can do other things for survival. You understand? That's the point I've tried to
For
make.
survival.
Do other things for survival. Do other things to stay afloat, but do not lose sight of your goal. So, like now, you're in a 9 to 5. You say to yourself that, oh, I'm in 9 to 5. I don't enjoy what it is that I do, but I'm basically using it to survive. So the question is that thing that you enjoy,
Yeah.
what
Start
start building it.
Yeah.
When I left litigation to go into mediation, first of all, like I said, I didn't know anybody that was doing it. I had a pregnant wife. I had a debt of over 600K.
Mm.
And I said to myself,
The time.
I said at that time, I said to myself, no, you see this one, I needed to take that first step forward. And the interesting thing was that I found out about mediation in, I think it was 2015, January of 2015. I resigned April of 2015.
Oh, wow.
Yes, if I can remember when I went to my boss and I was like, Fola, are you sure? I said yes. So I needed to get on that ship as it is hot. I did not want to second guess myself. Now, by the time I started second guessing myself, it was too late.
You were already.
I was very rich. Yes, the ship had been
I'm saying these people is like they are reading from the same script.
exactly. So that's why I used the metaphor. By the time I had already resigned,
Yeah.
I had already started telling people I was doing my business. So 2017, there was no money. 2018, 2019, I was like, yeah.
At this point, it's a case of we can't go back.
Exactly. I couldn't go back. So why? Because I kept on having that metaphor in my head. But like you have booked on the boat to go back now. So there's no turning back. There's no
turning back. So I use the phrase set myself up. I always set myself up. Because once I do that, I know that this one we have chook our lingo. It's like when you want to enter the river or pool. If you put one leg, you can still bring out the leg. But once you put both legs, you're inside.
Both legs.
So are you swimming or sinking?
Exactly.
You choose. And once you put yourself in that scenario, you will swim.
There's another song that really starts to me now. This time, I can overcut your side this year. As in, yes, bite off more than you can chew.
Bite it.
What is the most?
You will start chewing it small, but
you chew small. You start chewing small, but you chew it. And you see, I think another problem we have, and I use the word we generally, is that success leaves a pattern. There's a matter. Go back and look at those that have
other
people that Jeff Bezos and all of them and everything. They had a vision and they had a plan. They were dogged. They were audacious, and all of them became something.
Absolutely.
You understand? Exactly. So always follow. So
people that are doing stuff.
You understand? And
I think that's where sometimes I sort of feel like in Nigeria in particular, I would almost say a lot of entrepreneurs or a lot of people that are successful tend not to share their actual struggle stories. And I use the term struggle stories because before the success, there was a lot of struggle. You became maybe known or famous in your field after that struggle. But more often than not, if you ask maybe the average entrepreneur, it's God and the support of my family or something, is always so lazy. As against when you look at maybe people in Western world, they would write their autobiographies and stuff, and you see where they tell you, look, there were days when I couldn't afford to feed my kids. I couldn't afford to pay for electricity. I was sleeping in my car, or I was homeless for a few years. I had to declare bankruptcy 3-4 times. The average Nigerian does not want to expose that much about themselves. So it becomes even more imperative as a budding entrepreneur to seek this knowledge outside of your comfort zone, outside of the people that you know. Go online. Thank God for the digital era that we're in now. There's so much information available out there. Go online and try and see who are the people that are doing things that have not been done. Doesn't have to be in the same field. It's just more about people that are visionaries, people that have stayed the course, even when people thought they were mad. I always use the example of inventors because it's easy to relate to. Those people were seen as mad people in their time because they were dreaming of a future that did not exist, that the people around them could not even conceive. in their brain, more or less of now actually believing that it's something that would be a reality. And that's sort of how I see it in terms of in our conversation and when you're talking about how much you were convinced about mediation. It was not something that was common in this part of the world. Even the people that you knew that had been in the legal profession for years did not believe that it was something that was going to be a source of income in any form or way. But because you were so convinced, you stayed the course. And I think that's is very I'm looking for one big word, but it's not coming.
Well,
It's very it stands out very well for me because it just shows that there has to be a doggedness in you to be an entrepreneur.
yes, and that doggedness, if I may respectfully interject, comes from failure.
Absolutely.
No, Papa, I failed in my life.
You have to pick
See,
yourself.
no.
several
And okay,
times.
like I tell people that care to listen, I've always been an average student. I've never had an A before in my life. I've never had an A. I've never had I had a B before. I've never had.
Okay, I know one of those parents that'll be lying to you.
No, so the
How
matter
stay
there is
first
this,
in
like,
class.
whenever I see my daughter's result, I see A1, A1. I'll just tell my wife, we need to do a DNA.
Yes, I know she'll say.
Because if I finish with the third class and I finish with a 2-1, then that means that if our genes are diluted, then the child should be like maybe 2-2-2. But this one that is having, because I'll be honest, I've never had an A and I had a B, I had a C. You see, at some point in time, I would never forget when my result came out in uni. Then I spelled Edefe, EDEFA. I don't think I actually had any year without an extra. So you cannot. So I failed for the better part of my life, and I said something in one podcast. I said, "Look, but you see that failure was also like it was a thing of shame.
Building
Yeah, it was building
something
for me.
in it.
And I just said to myself, Fola, look, your failures made you. So even when mediation was not making anything, I said to myself that what's the worst that can happen? So one thing people don't understand about failure builds you because failure is success inside out.
Inside that,
You
yeah.
understand? And there's this book PK read, wrote, Love Affair with Failure. You know, I had only one extra. PK had 12. PK had to study a 4-year course 3 times, 12 years now. Yes. And yeah, study a 4-year course 3 times. You know, when he tells you the story of his life and all that, you look at yourself and you even thank God for what it is that you have. So I'm not scared of failing. You know, so I'm not scared of failure because I ask myself, what's the worst can happen? Look, don't I failed at everything now? In fact, I think I said that masters. Who fails masters? I failed masters. Because that was the time I just said to myself, you know, Fola, you see, just forget it. Man. So beyond all of this, who fails? But I've never heard of anybody. Look, some people abandon masters.
Yeah.
You understand? Not fails. Yeah, I failed it. Yeah, I failed. And I tell people one thing. You see, when you go through all of this, there's something it does to you mentally. You know, there's a shift that happens. There is a shift that happens to you that you now sit back and ask yourself one question: hey, if it is what has not killed me yet, you know, would only make me stronger. So here we are.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. And I think for me, it's that understanding. So, you know, with a lot of people, and that's where sometimes the society or the people that you surround yourself with can largely influence how you think.
True.
So if you surround yourself with people who are constantly pointing out your failures, you might not grow from them.
Without a doubt.
Because all you are getting is people berating you,
True.
reminding you of maybe what a fuck up you are or all those kind of stuff. And then you stay in that and you're not able to pull yourself out of it. But when you surround yourself with people who understand that, look, Oga, yes, you failed, though, but there's no time to wallow.
True.
What next?
What's next?
This one did not work. What else are we trying?
What
other, you know? It gives you a little bit more of it because that means that even when you can't pull yourself up, you have people that are able to say, oh yeah, take my hand. Let me help you or let me give you a bit of guidance. So I feel like even more importantly, as an entrepreneur, especially as an entrepreneur in Nigeria, you need some form of support system.
Mm-hmm.
Because when the going is not going well, you need people that you can sort of lean on.
And it does not always have to be financial.
It doesn't always have to be financial.
It could just be it's emotional. That one person, psychological, spiritual too. Because
spiritual.
I'll tell you one of for entrepreneurship is spiritual.
Oh, it is.
You will know God. They know they teach person. You will know God. You see, look, you will know God.
You don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice
You
because
don't.
we are going to new level, new devil. So and I tell people one thing. You see, I don't mean to get spiritual on this platform, but at the end of the day, there's God.
Of course.
There's God.
Of course.
And you have to
Absolutely.
him because
Yeah.
there's a power of favor. There's power of grace. There's power of access. There's power of visibility. But you see, you need to ask for these things, and that's why
You have to.
this is particular.
There's power of discernment.
Discernment, you understand? And so there's this thing that like ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door shall be opened unto you.
Absolutely.
For everyone who asks, receives, who seeks, finds, who knocks has the door. So if you have asked, just have that implicit belief.
It's coming.
It will come to you.
It's coming.
And so when the going gets tough and I ask, man, have I asked God? I've asked God. So if there's a delay, it's one of two things. We're talking about someone that sees tomorrow. So if the person that sees tomorrow sees that if I give this boy this thing now today, he's not mentally ready, he's not emotionally ready, he's going to even mess up his life. So I don't think he's ready to
receive these gifts, yeah.
And then you push it forward.
Yeah.
So it's not like giving someone something. Like I said, giving someone a light. You don't like to burn the person. So you gotta not give it to the person, give it to the child. Because if the child takes the light, it will burn the child. But
they don't know how to handle
Exactly.
it. It's like even with phones, gadgets. There are some people that say, no, my child is not going to have a phone until they're X years old. It's because they feel like maturity level is not enough for me to give them that phone, for them to have a phone to themselves. So yes, they can use my phone or whatever, but I'm still able to sort of monitor and control.
Exactly.
But when I feel they're old enough, responsible enough, then I can give them their personal gadgets.
Exactly.
Because now I know that they understand how to use it. It's not going to interfere with maybe homework or whatnot. And that's just saying from the basic things. So you can imagine if we as maybe parents or guardians are careful with how we give our words gifts. Imagine God. It's not because he doesn't want to give you. He feels like maybe there's certain things like you still need to attain or achieve or, imbibe. You are not old enough yet. You are not strong enough yet, spiritually, emotionally. Because there's certain blessings that when you get, Yoruba say,
yeah,
which is like, it would almost seem like, I keep saying it, there's some kind of money you make. It will be like money ritual. It will be like you did blood money or something. It's time. Exactly. So imagine that happening when you are at a place where you are not ready for it. And it does happen. That's why we also learn from other people's experiences. We have seen people that Yoruba people will say, Olowo ano, which means they used to have money. It's them that they will pass there. They say, this house, when we're growing up, this was the... But then down the line, maybe 10, 20 years down the line, nothing. They are broker than broke. But once upon a time, they were the ballers, And it's amazing that if we don't learn from those people's failures, we might repeat their mistakes.
And for me, that's unintelligent.
Exactly.
That's unintelligent. If you don't learn from other people's mistakes and you have to learn from your mistakes.
Exactly. There's only so many experiences you can go through personally.
True.
And that's why, personally, that whole understanding people is so interesting for me. And I feel like it's such a huge part of life. Studying people, how they do things, why they do things. Sometimes, yes.
I love to do that.
I love it. Every time I go out, I'm creating stories about people that I see.
My wife tells me that I act like a serial killer. I said, how would you go to the club alone? How will you hang out? I love to hang out alone. Not because of anything, but just to sit down and observe people in their environment.
Because once you're with a group of people, you have to engage. Yeah.
Exactly.
But when it's just you, fantastic. Yes, I love it. I love it. Because you're just there sitting down, smiles. There used to be people I said, who joined in GRE. I loved going there. I don't know why. I just loved it because I felt like these women were themselves. So for me, that was such an interesting concept because I grew up in a world where, as women, we've been told to package, to be a certain way. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, they were packaging and whatnot. But just saying that in the sense that once there are no customers around, they are their real selves. Whether they're arguing, they're fighting, they're whatnot. And for me, just sitting in that space made me there was some form of, I don't know if it was calm, peace or whatever. Is they were not forming certain kind of. Hey guys, we're back. Nigeria does We don't know what happened, but the light tripped off. Anyway, we are back. So thank you, Fola. So far, so good. Like, I'm enjoying it. And like I said, a lot of this conversation, while it might seem that it's about mediation, I think for me, it was important to pick something that was not a common, I would say, business in Nigeria, because entrepreneurship is hard in of itself. Then now imagine doing something that is also not, I would say, a common business, or at least if 10 years ago, it was not seen as a viable business. Now, I would like to ask the question today now, as we're in 2026. I want to ask the question, for mediation, as I would say, as a career, is this a real business in Nigeria now, or are we still in the educational phase?
Oh, it's a real business. Oh, and what I mean real business in the sense is that people are now becoming more enlightened. And the two questions that they're asking themselves, like I said earlier on, is the cost-benefit analysis of having a case in court for years without end. Now, like I said, the conversation is no longer about efficiency. The conversation is about speed. Then the second again is the possibility of the restoration of a business relationship. I'll tell you why that is very important. Everybody's winging it now.
Yeah.
And when I mean winging it in the sense that this time that we're living in, nobody has ever lived in that time before. If somebody had told you that something like an artificial intelligence will come up quickly,
Exactly.
Topper, you're here with me now. Somebody can come up with a video of you looking like you doing something else in Canada and all of that.
Fully.
Looking at you. You understand? So that is the world we live in now. So what is happening now is that most businesses are now trying to see how they can bring in technology with specific reference to artificial intelligence into their business. So naturally there will be frictions. Naturally there will be disruption here and there. So, and you see, the thing about softwares that we know is that the way they update themselves. If I ask you, your phone updated itself less than 3 months ago. Now, so can you, if you have a software issue inside to go to court, a minimum number of years, like maybe 1 or 2 years, do you know, even when you get a judgment, you cannot put something on nothing. The software itself would have become obsolete. So
it would have been like 20 when you did.
30. So now the beauty about it is that now the people are now even becoming more aware of the choices. Back then they assumed it was only litigation. Now, but of course, there's also another flavor of litigation, which is arbitration, which is more or less does not have technicalities, which is also relatively faster than litigation.
Yes, sir.
So for those that still want to go down that lane, the option is arbitration. For those that say to themselves that, okay, fine, I still want something that's faster than both of them concerned. Do you understand? Faster in the sense that, okay, fine, maybe mistakes were made, maybe both of us could have done better. Let's pick up from where we stopped and all of that. Then there's mediation. So more than ever, and interesting enough, it's also making up for lost time.
So it's catching up quicker.
Like a wildfire. I can't even tell you the benefit of it, you understand? And it's catching up. And for those of us that had stayed the tide, because we're having this conversation now, because I'm right there in your face, you know. So it's coming up and really, really making up for lost time, you understand? And even the younger ones coming up now, they don't even want to hear anything cuts and all of that. But them, they're like, you know what? Whatever it is we can settle, let us settle.
They have a shorter attention span. So there's no way you're going to drag me for 2, 3 years.
3 years and all of that.
Going to court.
Well, now that they are doing long service award for 4 years. Back in the days, long service award should be 30, 35 years. So I saw somebody, he got award, long service award. I said, I bet he said he spent 3 years. I said, so now, long service award is now 3 years, you understand? Now, back then, when you moved from one job to another job, you were seen as being unserious.
Unserious, yeah.
But now, if you stay in a job for too long, you are seen as unserious.
You don't have a plan.
You don't have a plan.
Yeah.
So everything has changed. Everything has changed. So and of course, with changes like this, it affects every other thing. And the framework, the language of dispute resolution is changing. And that's why I always say something that I don't believe in competition. I believe competition is a losing game.
Yeah.
If you and I have to compete on something, something has to give way. You understand? But I believe in specialization. Apart from even believing in specialization, I also believe in synergy. And that for me is the language, or that's the school of thought I belong to, where dispute resolution is concerned. Like I said, all of us can work together.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And there should be a trajectory towards dispute resolution. If negotiation does not work, we'll try mediation. If the mediation does not work, at that point, parties should have the option of arbitration and litigation. Or people should not go headlong
straight into
it.
litigation.
So yes, it's changing and it's really, really making up for lost time.
I love it. I love it. You know, to be honest, without knowing that there was such a thing as mediation, it was always something that came to me naturally. And so when I met you and we had a conversation in my mind, I'm like, mediation. I've never heard of this. So I saw it, I was like, interesting. And this is something that I genuinely feel like for some people is almost like a natural, I wouldn't say natural instinct or natural way, but maybe because they are more level-headed or objective in their outlook to life, it's easier for them to be a mediator because they don't get emotionally involved in whatever the scenario is, which is why I understand you staying away from like family disputes. So just saying, and I remember you had said that in the beginning of the episode that you don't have to have a law degree to be a mediator.
No, even worse, you don't even have, you don't have to have a lot.
So what would I say, what
are the qualifications?
Certifications or qualifications do I need to become a mediator?
So the beauty about mediation is that I don't know whether this is a proper way to say, just have sense. Because why I say so is that mediation can be done in Yoruba, can be done in English, can be done in any language at all. But the mindset is, what are you trying to achieve? An amicable resolution of dispute. So you don't come into mediation and tell you that you must be a university graduate, you must be this and all of that. The most important thing is for you to have that level of discernment, for you to be able to understand right from wrong, have the passion for it and all that. So that's the point, you see. So one thing ADHL did was that it opened the floodgates of dispute resolution to everybody. So it's a lot like driving. Once you know how to drive one car, there's no car that you can drive, maybe apart from trailer. So once they've been able to impact the knowledge of amicable resolution to you, it's not left for you to apply it in whichever way and manner you understand it to be. So there are no barriers towards it. No barriers, you understand? Exactly.
I think from my own personal understanding, of course, also the conversation we've had just now, I feel that knowing of self makes a huge difference.
I agree.
Because you are no longer entering any scenario with any form of bias. Because sometimes as human beings, we can sort of put ourselves in that scenario. So I'll give you an example. CBD, if I was mediating between a couple who is trying to decide if they should get a divorce or not, if I've experienced a bitter breakup, I might project myself into that scenario without realizing I'm doing that and tend to now be biased more to one party than the other. So in able to do courses like emotional intelligence, NLP, and being a self-aware person, because it's not just doing those courses, it's also putting in the work, applying yourself and understanding who you are, how you are, healing from your own traumas.
I agree.
Absolutely helps you to stay, I'll use the word detached.
I agree.
Because you need that detachment in order to be able to be objective.
I agree.
And you don't want to be the one trying to influence the narrative. You are just there to try and keep that balance and peace, not to influence the direction of what the resolution will be.
I want to add more to what you said. Self-awareness is key.
Yeah.
Self-awareness is king. I understand myself to a point where I know my strength, I know my weaknesses. Now, like a lot of people that try to work on their weaknesses, I try to work more on my strength. My weaknesses, I delegate. So for me, I'm not a strategist, I'm an executioner. I execute on the spot. But my team, they're strategists. They can sit down, they come up with the framework of what it is that needs to be done. They just give it to me and I implement immediately. Even when it comes to mediation itself, the only reason why I'm very, very good at what I do is because I focus on my strengths, which is commercial. I love commercial banking. But when you now start getting into
Personal
relationships and all of, I don't even have the patience.
Yeah.
I struggle. So I was having one with a senior mediator. I said, Fola, you look bored. I said, I'm not trying to be bored. I said, because I'm like, let's just get to this issue. This is it. When I get to that part of negotiating, and that's it. So I focus on my strengths, I cost it, and I go all in
for it. I love it. And I think that takes me back to something I read someone is saying, when you follow your passion, you are lying every day. Because you're doing what excites you and what you thrive at.
Stop, I don't work, I play. That's it. So
I love it.
I don't work, I play. Now, you have no idea what I do as a mediator. I literally work 17 hours every day. And I don't believe I work, I believe I play. And if not for wifey that calls, you need to come to, I can literally sit down there 24 hours. So you cannot imagine a scenario whereby what you naturally would do for free, for fun, you are being paid for it. You know, that undiluted blessing. I said, if there is one thing I'm thankful to God for, that what puts food on my table is what gives me joy. You understand? And I say this, I tell my wife that mediation is my second love affair. You understand? It's my second love affair. So you are very, very, very correct about that.
Because it's just something that there's like a fire burning in you. You can't help it.
When you see me, you see passion.
Yeah.
You know, when I even talk about it, you see the smile on my face. I know. Also, when you said and you said, okay, fine, I didn't even read it.
Because you're already like, don't worry.
I just
This one,
I didn't read it. I just said it's not to have a conversation about it. Wake me up and say, Fola, let's talk about this thing. Oh yeah, I'm ready and ready to go.
I went on a date a long time ago with a guy. We're talking about, oh, what do you do? I was like, oh, I'm marketing and advertising. I was like, okay, what exactly do you do? And then I was like, see the way your whole face just lit up. I said, yeah, because I genuinely enjoy what I do. I love it. Like, it's just something that, for me, seeing something go from A to B to C to D, and knowing that I was a part of that happening.
And that's why
my entire spirit was alive.
That staying power is key.
It is.
Just stick to it. You see, and the beauty about it is that the world is a global village.
It is.
Now, the world is flat. Contrary to what people think, what that means is that whatever it is you do here can be projected.
Can be done anywhere.
So even if you're not able to make money here, can you replicate it in other places right from the comfort of this place?
Because if that value is not appreciated here, it's appreciated somewhere else.
If you genuinely enjoy what you do, retirement is not battle. It's not going to come.
It won't.
I don't see myself retiring. I've never thought. I may just take a break, go to the Bahamas and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'll still have my laptop with me.
Definitely.
We are still going to continue the hustle. Exactly. All the way.
See, when you're able to embed work, play together, you have gotten it. It's like that secret formula. And for me, that's what I'm working towards as an entrepreneur. I don't want to be bogged down by having to go to one physical office every day. I want to be able to make money from wherever I am.
Where you're through your laptop.
Yes. Your phone, your laptop.
Everywhere.
Yeah, okay. So even when you're on vacation and it might seem like, oh, you're always working, say, don't worry about it. I'm here. When I finish this one now, we can go to the beach, we can go to the place. But
there was one mediation I handled and very sweet mediation. So I was in Nigeria. I think I was going to the UK. I think we had a brief stopover. I think it was Kelm, Amsterdam, and in between that stopover, I was in the mediation session. And I just picked up my laptop. We continued. The other person was in Paris. The other person was in Dubai and all that. So interestingly enough, we're all traveling on different time zones, but we're able to synchronize our stuff. That can only happen. And you see, the beauty about mediation again is the flexibility. Now,
you have to be physically in each other's space.
And you see, the connection mediation has to technology is like this. So even so, it's and technology is already redefining the legal practice in the way and manner things are done. Because I remember when a case was going to come up, and that when I was in active practice, and the gentleman was saying that for in Hong Kong, you need to fly from Hong Kong to Nigeria just because I want to appear in court. Of course, the court is not making provisions for virtual hearings.
Yeah.
But it's still coming up. Well, mediation, virtual practice, do it everywhere. So when I tell people that now, this week, today's Tuesday, this week I have really 14 trainings, virtual trainings across 6 countries from the comfort of my home. It can only be technology. So any business you are doing, and I'm going to go back to the words of PK again. So any business you are doing that is not powered by technology is a business that is heading towards destruction. There are no two ways about it. Because your business must be powered by technology because that is the language of the 21st century. You understand? That is the language of 21st. So it must be powered by, and there's a way he says it. He says that you should be a technology business in the business of something. So like I'll use mediation. So I'm in the technology of mediation. So what that means is that I'm basically using technology to resolve disputes amicably. So that is what people should be.
It comes back to that point that you said speed, because automatically technology just makes things happen.
It's all about speed.
Yeah.
You understand? And only all about speed. You see, knowledge is power. Application of it is wisdom.
Absolutely.
You know, so you should have people that you listen to, because the reality about life, you can never go beyond what you say. So the question now is what do you say? That's it. Thank you.
Fantastic. So all this our plenty talk now. I want to ask you one final heavy question. And I think so while we might and I think that's where I always try and reiterate the whole premise of this is how we can all learn without it necessarily being in a formal setting. Because I feel like everybody has a story to tell. And from that story, there's so many learnings that we can take out from it. And that just reference back to what you said earlier about you have to learn from other people's stories. You have to learn from other people's mistakes. And in saying that, it also means that we as a people also have a responsibility to pass on some of these learnings because no man is an island. The way you are able to talk about PK and learning from him and him being your mentor, even if he's from far, is because he chose to share. If he didn't share, you would not have had access to that knowledge. He shared his knowledge and so you were able to take. So I'm rambling. Let's go back. So part of this, what I want to say is, I'll say this, my final question. Please help me answer our listeners directly. To look into their eyes, let them know. Our average listener is probably someone in her early to mid 40s, or probably maybe in her late 30s. She has something she wants to build. And it might be in mediation or it might be in a completely different industry that her community does not understand yet. And this is speaking to people who have ideas that might not resonate right now or in the present that they are in or in the environment that they are in. And this, my average viewer, has watched you describe that experience and survive it because you started something when a lot of people didn't understand it, even people that have been in the legal profession for years. And you stayed the course because you believed in it. Now, anybody who goes through that experience will experience fear, regardless of how strong-willed you are or whatever it is. There will be some level of fear, as much as you are inspired. So I would say my viewer is inspired, but there's still fear. This fear is specific. What if I invest time and money and energy and Nigeria is still not ready? What do you say to this kind of person?
Take it outside Nigeria, but still stay here. So yeah, so let me answer first. I'm going to make this really very simple. I'm told to look at it. First things first, get a pen and paper. That's the first thing. Get a journal, get a pen and a paper. On the first page, write this words out. What do I want to do? List out the things that you want to do. Then ask yourself this question. I'm sure you've all heard. What is that one thing that I know that out of all these things I've listed out that I can do for free, even if I'm paid for it? Or flip the question to ask yourself one thing. What am I passionate about? Like I said, don't take too many things. Just item and just probably write down 2 or 3 things. Sleep over it. Reflect on those 3 things. Then probably choose only one of those things. Then when you pick that one thing, you then ask yourself the second question: how do I go about it? Now, the how we then talk about maybe the knowledge. You understand? Now, the knowledge of that thing will be divided into 2 parts. You have the business of that. No, you have the practice of that thing. Then you have the business of it. Now, once you've been able to identify what the practice of it, give yourself a timeline within which you should understand the knowledge of that thing. Then the next thing you ask yourself is the business of it. Now, within the framework of the business of it, also tone it down and ask yourself who your target audience is. You understand? And try and see whether that thing is something that can be powered by technology. And in asking yourself whether it's going to be powered by technology, you have to look beyond the shores of Nigeria. I'm sorry. You cannot limit yourself to 250 million. Yes, it sounds like a lot, like a lot, but then again, you have 250, you have 240, you have 8 point something billion. Ask you, look, people have dreams. People have vision.
Yeah.
Ask yourself what it is you want to do with it. And then you start. Then, of course, you cannot take away social media. Because it's easier to speak to 1,001 people from one spot than to speak to one person individually. Now, all these things I've said, please write them down. You understand? Try and disseminate information across board, and also look at where your target audience, where they are. Yes, the target audience on Facebook is different from target audience on Instagram. The target audience on Instagram is different from target audience on Snapchat. The target audience on Snapchat is different from target audience on LinkedIn. The target audience on LinkedIn is different from target audience on TikTok. They all have different varying levels of attention span. You understand? Identify your audience. You understand? And then go all in. And also have this farm principle in mind. Or what do I mean is that when you plant a seed, understand that the seed needs to go down before it goes up. Or better still, you can use the metaphor of a pregnant woman. You know that there's nothing that will happen. It takes 9 months from a woman to give to carry a baby from birth to conception, and then go back to those steps, continue to refine them, and then and start off. I promise you, there is money in everything. There is money in everything. And where we are right now, you see, ingenuity is the name of the game. You had that idea because God gave it to you. But I also tell you one thing. God did not give that idea has a time span. If you don't make use of that idea, somebody else will make use of that idea. There was a gentleman that said that some years ago, he had the idea of a selfie stick. He literally told his friend about the self and he just forgot about it. Some years down the line, somebody came up with that. So that idea, God gave it to you. Ideas are worthless without execution. Just start off. You understand? Be consistent. You understand? And then success will be yours in Jesus' name. Amen. I just sound like a pastor now.
Yes. Fola is one of my free thinking people. We are spiritual, not necessarily religious. Fola, thank you so much. That was everything I hoped for and then some. Thank you. It's been fantastic. It's been awesome having you here today. And my people, if you have not learned anything, that means you have to rewind and start again. There's definitely a lot of gems in here. And while I keep reiterating, it might seem like we're focusing on mediation, but the truth is, it's entrepreneurship as a journey in of itself. For me, it was even more interesting because this is a field or a space that is not the road well traveled. So it's even more important to be able to now identify how someone was able to chart a course or a path where others haven't necessarily created one. Because that shows a lot of grit and a lot of resilience. And for somebody like me, babypreneur, and I'm still building up on a lot of these things, it's amazing to see. And it's also inspiring. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure my people are also excited to see you. So for those of you that don't know, Fola Alade, Google him, or FOTEFA, Google both the practice and the training academy. Google them and you can find out more information. You can reach out to him on social media and I'm sure he'll respond to you. So thank you all for being here. I love you. Next episode, see you there soon. Bye.